what's happening, everybody? I'm Larry Roberts.
And I'm Sarah Lissy, and this is Branded, your comprehensive guide to creative branding.
And on this episode of the podcast, we've got someone with us today that's going to be talking about full funnel marketing. I don't think we've had an episode yet talking about funnels, so I think this is going to be super insightful for helping us build our brand. His name is RJ Schultz, and he is the COO of Blip, an advertising technology company that enables marketers to run digital billboard ads as easy as online ads. He previously worked at Amazon, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and the Pentagon. And he holds an MBA from Duke University. So can't wait to talk to him. RJ, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So let's start off by asking, what is full funnel marketing?
Full funnel marketing. I mean, as easy as it sounds, using the full funnel, right? We need to remember that marketing, full stop, is just creating demand. It is creating demand for the product or the service that you are selling or offering. And people need to be developed. They need to be conditioned. They need to be ready to choose you. That doesn't happen after just seeing an ad or laughing at an ad or anything like that. They need to be conditioned. And that's what a full funnel helps us do.
We hear a lot like top of funnel, or this is a bottom of funnel effort. This is a top of funnel effort. What does that mean? Like what constitutes something being top of funnel? Is there specific strategies, specific tactics? And then what is happening as we go down to the bottom?
Okay. So top of funnel, just to answer your question as simple as possible, think awareness, getting your name out there. Middle of funnel, building trust. Bottom of funnel, converting. And so the question for us marketers is, how do we most effectively develop people along this path from becoming aware from unaware to starting to trust us, to then being ready to choose us? And that's what full funnel marketing is. And if the question for us marketers is how do we do that most cost effectively, the answer is to point different advertising mediums at the customer during appropriate spots along that customer journey. So right back to your question, advertising mediums that focus on awareness at first. And once they're aware of who you are and they see you in an authoritative, confident way, what can we point at them in the middle of the funnel to start building trust and familiarity? And this is socials and content and white papers and things like that. And then once we have this relationship and they've seen us 6, 7, 10 times, they've started to know something about us. They've started to feel things about us. Now in the bottom of the funnel, what advertising mediums can we point at them to help them convert? Click on some call to action. And that's, your standard paid ads, Google, Meta, LinkedIn, things like that.
So help me how do billboards come into play there? Being the COO of Billboards, it seems like your interest would be in the billboard space, but a lot of what we're talking about here doesn't sound very billboard driven.
Yeah. So what we are here for is to make sure that marketers create demand in the most cost-effective way possible. And that's not billboards, right? I want to say unequivocally, turning on billboards, using billboards is not going to bring people into your store. It is not going to send people to your website. But here's a question for anyone listening, and I'll pause after asking it so you have a chance to think and answer it in your car or wherever you are. But like, if I were to say, what does a Chick-fil-A billboard say? You could probably answer that. I'm curious. You could eat more chicken, right?
Yeah,
just sort of eat more chicken. Yeah. That is the quintessential that billboard awareness campaign. So billboards definitely have their place in this, but eat more chicken is not driving someone to a website. Eat more chicken is not a QR code that they're clicking in. Right? Eat more chicken seeds the idea. It grows the authoritative awareness. It grows the trust, the familiarity. Sometimes it makes us laugh. And that stuff layered on top of the calls to action and the socials and the interaction, that's what converts us the most effectively. Let me cite a really interesting study done by McDonald's with respect to where billboards fit into this. And again, saying it's not billboards that did this, it's the combination of the two. Yep. So McDonald's launched a menu item. This was a few years ago. And I'll send you the case study if you're interested in a PDF. But McDonald's launched a new menu item or resurged a new menu item, whatever it was, in 5 cities. And these were DMAs like Oklahoma City, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, cities like that. And for 6 weeks, they ran Facebook advertising for this menu item in all 5 of those cities. And for the same 6 weeks, they ran billboards on top of the Facebook in 4 of the 5 cities. And those 4 cities outperformed in sales the control city by 729%. Like,
Wow.
Billboards plus Facebook at the same time outperformed by 729% in sales. And so the question is like, why? And I'm super interested in that. You mentioned the DIA and the Pentagon, the Department of Defense. That was a previous life. I was an interrogator with the Department of Defense, and we learned a lot about psychology and the good kind of manipulation and motivation and how people were doing things and why they were doing things and what you could do or say to get them to do certain things. And I thought, well, once I go to business school and transition into the private sector, I'll never deal with that stuff again. I was wrong. It's every day, right? Marketing is creating demand. It's understanding motivation, understanding behavior, and understanding what we can do to stoke certain behaviors and things like that. And so the efficacy of the billboards and the Facebook together in a McDonald's study, it comes absolutely down to the psychology of survival, which is super interesting to me, right? Think about getting served an ad on your phone. I don't know, whatever you're doing on your phone, playing chess, scrolling social media, hiding in the closet, what have you. You're not in shop mode, and that thing comes and you're like, I just like swipe away as quickly as possible, or just straight up ignore if you can. But if you're driving down the road and you're confronted by a digital billboard for 8 seconds, like that's an eternity. And that little pause is only 2 seconds, right? You are forced to psychologically ingest colors, logos, maybe a word or two. Even if you're checked out, right? You're subconsciously ingesting these things. The next time that surfaces on your phone, this is a psychology of survival that happens at the subconscious level. Your psyche is saying like, hey, we recognize this color, this logo, this word. Do we need to dwell an extra second to see if it's a benefit or a threat? Because the psychology of survival says, I have to react to this. I recognize that I've seen it before. Is it a benefit or a threat? And the answer is yes, I need to dwell an extra second to figure that out. And that's why the combination of billboards at the top of the funnel and Facebook at the bottom did so well in that McDonald's study. So long answer to the short question, like, where do billboards fit? It's there. It's at the top, making everything beneath it in the trust building and the calls to action more effective.
And I think too, though, at the same time, your average brand probably couldn't leverage that. We're talking about Chick-fil-A, we're talking about McDonald's. These are massive global brands. So, I mean, if you're a small business owner, or even a small to mid-sized business owner, even that approach still isn't going to be necessarily effective for you. And I think that's where a lot of people may misinterpret the whole funnel concept. They don't know what steps to put it in, and they don't understand they have to already have a position themselves within their industry before they can start taking that level of funnel approach. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm assuming that you're coming from a place of like, hey, there's some cost prohibitive barriers to entry to even get on billboards. Chick-fil-A can do it. McDonald's can do it because they've got deep advertising pockets. But like, what about us corner stores? What about us local businesses?
Well, it's not so much, let me jump in there. It's not so much about cost prohibitive. It's brand awareness prohibitive. Because if people don't already know the brand, having a billboard and on top of Facebook ads, is that still going to be just as effective? I mean, the two case studies that we cited here are, again, massive brands. So mom and pop tile shop over here, and that wasn't supposed to rhyme, but they probably couldn't take this same approach with the same level of effectiveness, could they?
Yeah, they can. They're starting way further up, the start of the road, because when I see a Chick-fil-A billboard, I already know who they are. I've already had amazing experiences with them. Chicken sandwiches mixed with Polynesian sauce, Chick-fil-A sauce together with a fry on the side. Like, I've already had all that stuff. So a new brand has an opportunity to start building that type of brand, building that type of trust, and they can do it in one of two ways. You can spend $14 to $18 a CPM on Facebook and get your ad in front of people as many times as you have money to pay, to pay. Or you can run the psychological approach the same way that Chick-fil-A or McDonald's do and say, like, you know what, I'm going to make those Facebook impressions even more effective for building the brand, not just converting, because they're going to have already seen me in the sky on a board. And that's really what we're working with, right? So if a brand new brand, which they do come to us all the time, this is what we recommend. You think about a 3-month runway if you're trying to get your name out there, right? And 3-month, 6-month, 9, 12, we just do the same thing in quarter chunks. You think about, just assume no one knows who you are. And so you've got to find the most cost-effective way to start the awareness process. And that's billboards at $4 to $5 CPM. Curious for each of you, and maybe answer this question on behalf of the listeners. how much do you think it is? How much do you think people are paying to get their advertisement for 8 seconds to blip on a digital billboard, like in LA on the 405 or Salt Lake City on I-15? How much are they paying for that?
Are we talking about? Yeah, per month? I mean,
Like just for
I look,
8 seconds.
I haven't, yeah, I haven't priced billboards in probably 15 years since I owned my swimming pool
Good.
company. So I don't really I don't have a clue. Especially
Okay.
from a digital perspective.
Okay. When I was looking at Blip and they asked me this question, I said $45,000. And they're like, "Yeah, you're right in there." I'm curious. Would you have a guess at what people are paying for just an 8 second blip to get in front of five?
One single time.
Yeah, one single
Hey,
time.
8 seconds in LA.
In LA,
I don't know, 100 grand.
100 grand. What would you say?
Like 5.
Okay. 8 cents. We're doing it for 8 cents at Blip. Okay. That's the same. Yankee Stadium.
I was
So we were close. We were
I would not-
close.
Yeah.
I would not be in the Showcase Showdown. I mean,
Yeah. My mind was blown, right? In Times Square, you can send your ad to Times Square boards for 15 seconds, and that costs $20, but only because the board owners are like, I know what I have. I'm not going to let it go for $1 or 8 cents. And so they put a floor there, and that's their prerogative because they own the board.
but there still has to be a minimum buy. Am I right? I mean,
No, there doesn't. But maybe it'd be helpful to give a 60-second overview to the listeners of what Blip is. And it's easiest understood using Uber as a proxy.
Okay.
So Uber, we're all familiar with, right? Uber is a piece of technology that sits in a two-sided marketplace between car owners, car riders. Uber does not own cars. Uber does not ride cars, right? They just connect the two on their open exchange. You guys see all these things happening?
Yeah, we're like, that's the second
Every
time
time you like do thumbs up,
Yeah,
you
it's
get
like
fireworks.
ratings. Yeah, like the technology is excited about this too. So Uber just connects car owners, car riders. Uber does not own, Uber does not ride, just connect the two. Blip is exactly the same. We sit between board owners, billboard owners, and people who want to advertise. We don't own any billboards. We don't advertise. We just connect the two through an open exchange. So just like you would call Uber at the airport to get a ride home for $50 instead of $50,000 to buy a car, you could come to Blip to send your ad to Times Square for one day, a week, a month, whatever you want, instead of a year-long contract for multi-millions of dollars. So it is the Uber style marketplace of billboards. And for that reason, we're able to send people's ads to other people's billboards for 8 and 10 cents a flip. Now, granted, there are some grandmas out there in, middle Western Iowa who are really proud of their high school graduates, and they'll put their face up there for 8 seconds and they'll pay a dime. That happens all the time, and it's heartwarming. And it's
Dude, don't think for a second I'm not sitting here thinking I'm putting my face in downtown Dallas just to take the picture. So
you go take a selfie in front of it, and it's fantastic. But if you are, like the question you ask, can we as an SMB like actually grow our brand? If you're trying to do that, depending on the DMA, and I'll use Salt Lake City because that's where we were founded, and we have a big network of boards there. You need to think about spending between $2,000 and $4,000 a month on out of home on billboards. And I could pull up a campaign. I looked at it this morning. We had spent $1,900 in the last 13 days, and the ad had been seen by 622,000 people. And so it's that kind of saturation that you're trying to get in the market, so that when you start coupling it with social media posts and other types of content and podcasts, people are making these cognitive connections like, oh, I've seen them. Oh, I laughed at their billboard. Oh, you know what I mean? And that will expedite the process of building trust and familiarity. So absolutely, SMBs can do this, and they absolutely should.
I just had a thought. So like Larry and I, in a couple months, we're going to have a booth at the Small Business Expo in Dallas. And is this something that, like, if we were to pay for some time on a billboard near that event so people see it before they get to the event, is that something that would be like a useful strategy for something like a trade show?
Yeah, let me tell you 2 stories. This has nothing to do with the McDonald's and the Chick-fil-A's, so this is way more pertinent, and it's absolutely what you just asked. Last week, we were in Vegas for the multi-unit franchise conference, MUFC, and one of our account managers...
Good job.
One of our account managers, he had connected with somebody. I'll leave their name, out. He had connected with someone, and they had really good banter going back and forth about marketing and advertising and getting together and going to dinner and things like that. So he figured out when she was flying in, and he put her and her business and his face and his business on a billboard together and said, "We'll be at the conference. Come see us." And she responded with a selfie in front of it. She said, "I stopped my Uber driver and I got out and I took a selfie with my thing, or I had him take a picture of me with the thing. And then, well, I was actually at the conference sitting at the booth. We had 4 people come by and be like, 'Hey, you're the dude that was on the billboard when I got off the plane.'" And like, yeah, it works. Another thing, the second story is one of the most surprising use cases. And it doesn't seem surprising because it seems like duh, but we didn't anticipate this. Rappers, Fat Joe, Kanye West, like rappers will buy up boards a month in advance in their tour spots and their tour stops, just saturate the place to drive last minute ticket sales in conjunction with the social media they're running, right? So absolutely, you've got a conference, buy up all the space around that conference so people see you.
When you like pick the billboard, you have the ad that you want. You've said like you could go take a picture in front of it, or she took a picture in front of the one that had her picture on it. How do you know when it's going to be there? Because if you only have 8 seconds,
good question.
like how do you time that?
So every board,
can you connect it to your GPS in your car? Be like, run this ad when this car gets here.
So not necessarily as James Bondy as you just said, but like you can do that in effect. So because the platform is, think of like Google Maps. You go onto Google Maps when you sign on a Blip, and it'll show your freeway. And then we have like dots where these boards are. These are the locator pins. Well, you can hover over the pin and it'll bring up all this data. Like this is how many people pass it. This is what it looks like. This is the pixels. This is the size. You select that board in your campaign, and that's the board you're sending your ad to. You can select as many as you want and rotate. But if we selected that board right by the airport, we know it's going to be playing there. And then every digital board has 8 slots. So there are only 8 slots that rotate. So your ad will show every 64 seconds for 8 seconds. And so if you see it, you just drive over to it and you wait 64 seconds. It's going to come up again. So there's
makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Another way that we're using it, and since we have the time, all the filters in my brain are like, don't tell the story. Here we go.
Tell the story. Tell the story. We tell them all on the show.
There are 2 companies, and they are competitors, and they share an industrial parking lot in Utah. Okay. They share industrial parking lots. So they are hundreds of yards from one another, both of their headquarters, and they're both franchise companies for the exact same service. Okay. Well, a former Blipanaut went to this company A and was their marketer. So he turned right around and was like, "Hey, let's advertise out of home." And they've been crushing it. They've been growing. You definitely, well, maybe not, depending on where you're from. You might have heard of them. They're in the pickleball space, I'll say. And so they're just rocking and rolling. They're growing. Part of the growth trajectory allows him a different job. So he leaves the marketing position and elevates his position somewhere in the company. And his replacement comes in. And the first thing he says is, "Stop Blip. I hate Blip. I hate out of home. I hate billboards. It's antiquated. It's unsexy. It doesn't work. We're not wasting money there." And so he's putting all their money into bottom of funnel stuff, which is going to work for the next couple of months because they've built trust and brand and authority. But as soon as they try and go somewhere else, he's going to be fighting that ROI battle on the bottom of the funnel. Story for another day. Anyway, he cuts us off and they say, "What do we want to do about that? Do we want to talk to him?" I'm like, "No. Get me on the phone with the CEO of their competitor just across the parking lot." So I call him and I say, "Merry Christmas. We're going to spend $5,000 a month for the next 3 to 4 months on you. Send me an advertisement you want to play." So we go to the tool, just like you were asking. I found out where that new marketer that cut us off, I found out where he lives and his office. And we bought the board right at his freeway entrance and right out the window of his office. And when I'm looking at the tool, sometimes 2 and 3 of those 8 slots are taken by his competitor. So all day he's just looking at these advertisements of his competitor after he said billboards don't work. And so
this is the kind of petty that I am here for.
Yeah. I'm proud of this petty. And so
I am proud of you.
Yeah.
And so listen to this. The capstone of this whole story is that apparently some stuff was going on in company A. They brought in the new person. They stopped the spend. Well, they also fired their CMO. Just let him go. He calls up and he's like, "I got a question." Right around the same time, we had all this turmoil and we fired all of our partners. I started seeing our competitor right outside the office. And every time I got on the freeway, "Is that you guys?" And I said, yeah, it's us. And he goes, I love it. We have definitely seen that as a company. And I'm like, yeah, take note, dude. So there is so much you can do with an Uber style marketplace for digital billboards. Like you can get your name out there in so many creative ways, and people do see it. You know what I mean?
No, when I always look at billboards, and I honestly always look at them because I'm judging them, because I worked as an ad copywriter for years, and I know it's like it's its own monster. Trying to write good billboards is not easy to do, and I always judge how well companies do it. But
Yeah.
half of the
It's hard.
billboards, it is. Half of the billboards that I see are the ones that say, does advertising work? It just does. Call us. Like it's advertising the billboard itself. Is
Yeah.
that because like billboards aren't being bought the way that they used to be? Or are those just because they are the stagnant ones that they literally go up with like a paint roller and put them up and they should be replaced with digital?
Yeah.
That was like 4 questions in one.
There's that one for sure. There's some static, and there's been a big wave over the last few years of people converting their statics to digitals. And so a billboard owner, like think of billboards, maybe this is novel too. It was to me. Like think of billboards as a rental property. Like we buy a townhome and then cash flow it because it's like, oh, it's good for my retirement, my cash flow. People do that with billboards too. They buy a billboard and they're cash flowing that, right? And so when they have the opportunity to upgrade their cash flowing asset, and they say, oh man, Jim's feed store has been paying me $500 a month for this vinyl advertisement. If I converted that to digital, I get 8 people paying me maybe $2,000 a month or something. And so they convert, and then they don't know what to do. So they hire a salesperson, and that salesperson goes out and tries to find 8 people who are willing to take an eighth of that board on contract, and it never fills up. So on average across the country, so we connect with like 3,800 digitals across the country. And on average, 25% of them are unsold. So you see this advertised here, your name here, whatever. The whole Blip business model was to go to those guys and say, hey, your asset is not paying you out at 100%. So let's integrate our software with yours. And anytime you have an open slot, we'll just funnel demand from our marketplace and fill it. So it's called filling remnant space. And so the advertisements you see are people who are just like, no, I'm not doing 8 cents a flip. I'm going to sell this. And they're not selling the slot.
That's insane. And it speaks to the evolution of marketing, in all honesty.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of the small business owners, they're still stuck in that old school mindset. I mean, I was still stuck in the old school mindset of, yeah, it'd be cool to have a billboard, but I figure that digital billboards are way out of the price range of the vast majority of small business owners. But something like what you've done here it's I don't know, I don't want to say revolutionary, but it sounds revolutionary.
Yeah, absolutely revolutionary. I mean, it is revolutionizing access to out-of-home advertising for sure. And somewhere where Blip has just failed, I mean, we suck at this, is getting our story and our name out there. We're a $50 million a year company. You've never even heard of us, right? Like we do exactly what you wish you could do for your business. You've never even heard of us. That's our fault. And that's why we're starting to play, in the podcast space and we've grown with 0 marketers on our team. We're a marketing company with 0 marketers. We have ad writers because like you mentioned, some of these billboards are horrendous. People will want to come onto the platform. And I definitely should say this to all the listeners who are thinking, you know what, I'm going to try this. What you're going to want to do is use every square inch of that billboard and put your URL and a QR code and make sure they got all of our handles. Don't do it. Like 7 words max. Remember, eat more chicken. Like that's what you're trying to do. Definitely put
number 1 would be 3 words.
Yeah, number 1, right? Definitely put all that information in your content and in your socials and be very, very strategic and humorous and relatable and all that stuff. The purpose of the billboard is to just deepen the hook that they feel when they see your content, right? The billboard is just a duplicative effort. It's a multiplier.
But make it clear what brand it is, because I also see so many where I'm like, oh, that's cool. Who are you?
Exactly. Good point. Best practice would be just to think about at least a third of the billboard with logo and name, at least, and then 2/3 of the billboard with whatever message you have. And sometimes your message does carry the name, and that's fine too. So this is just something to think about. But people need to stop for a second and know who they're looking at. And that's really all you're trying to accomplish with a billboard. Stop for a second, know who they're looking at. That's it.
I will
it's kind of
say,
interesting.
God.
Go ahead. No, no.
I was just gonna say we can't talk about billboards without just acknowledging Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's.
I don't know if you're in Texas.
Oh yeah, I'm in Oklahoma actually.
Okay, well.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, close enough. Y'all probably have Buc-ee's. We've got Buc-ee's all over. They have the best billboard advertising I've ever seen in my life. It is every 17 feet when you're driving between Austin and Dallas. It's basically like, okay, it is in 427 feet on your left, but they have the funniest little catchphrases. I think Cracker Barrel is a close second, but
think about what they're doing with you, right? We write a billboard ad and we're like, I want them to know everything about us. But what Buc-ee's is doing is they're having a conversation with you. Hey, we're in 17 exits. Oh yeah, 17 exits. Hey, we're in 12 exits. Oh, I must have gone 5 miles. Like they are having a conversation.
They're also making you
nailed it, because when I make that trip between Dallas and Austin to go see Sarah, and I'm going back to Dallas, it doesn't matter what direction I'm going in. Buc-ee's tells me how close I am to her crib, or how close I am to my crib. That's exact. Those billboards tell me, they give me that little sigh of relief, because it's about a 3.5 hour drive, and I'm like, oh God, Buc-ee's in 50 miles. Okay, cool, I'm almost there. Yeah.
But that's a perfect display of top of funnel, like what we're supposed to be doing as marketers, like. Who is our ICP? Who are we talking to? Buc-ee's has obviously done a good job of saying, like, everyone definitely could have fun at a Buc-ee's, but we're not talking to everyone. We're talking to people who are driving to a destination and thinking about destination type stuff. You know what I mean? And all their billboards have a conversation with that particular persona. They're brilliant. They're brilliant.
There's another one here in Dallas that I see quite a bit, and it's I hate somebody.com. I kept seeing it. I hate John Doe. I'm just going to say John Doe for whatever. And I'm like, who did this dude piss off? Right. But then I finally,
that got national attention. I think it's local, but I've heard of it. I heard of it a while ago, and like people were talking about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, this is next level insane, because I kept seeing them like, all right, so this is something. This is something. And I finally had to go to the website. I was like, oh my God, I would have never guessed, It's
almost like anti-marketing or like demarketing.
Yeah.
And like that's my favorite kind, because it's just so clever and so like reverse psychology. But things do that a lot, especially with like Yelp reviews. Like they will put up their most negative Yelp review, like worst burger that Todd from Tennessee ever had. And I'm just like, okay, well now I want to see how bad it is. And like, even if they're saying it's bad instead of good, it makes you curious, because like
it's brilliant.
It just has that power. It's so good.
Liquid Death. I saw this week, so I'm not sure how recent it is, but they got an up and coming country singer to sing, like all the lyrics of the song that they wrote are their worst reviews. It is.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's amazing. So good.
I think they stole that idea though, because someone on American Idol, the song that she auditioned with was a compilation of all of the worst YouTube comments she got on her videos.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I don't know who she is, but it was genius and amazing, and I think she made it pretty fun.
This level of pettiness, I love.
We need more petty in marketing. I'm not gonna lie. We need more.
It makes you stand out, man, in one way or another. And it's kind of funny too, because I'm sitting here right now as I sit here today. I have a meeting this afternoon with a lady that I'm still supposed to, but I'm pretty well decided I'm not going to fly to New York next week to do some consulting with her to do a business analysis for an AI product that she wants. So I was going to do the business analysis and write the technical specs, and potentially my company would develop it as well. But I've never met her. I was a referral, and she went to my website and she saw the red hat, and she completely lost her mind and made all these negative assumptions and said all these horrific things. And she literally looked at my brand, and my brand was technically hijacked because of, the political climate that we're in today. There's no political affiliation with my hat whatsoever, but she made all these assumptions of what I was and who I was. And we had some communication back and forth, and it was less than cordial from her side. But I was cordial as can be, and I'm still being cordial. And I'm going to take that meeting this afternoon, but it's out of morbid curiosity more than anything. And, I that says a lot from a marketing perspective as well. You can, and I made the same assumption on I hate John Doe or whatever his name was. It was a negative assumption on my part, but it drove me to go, hey, what's this all about? Why do people hate this cat? Yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting even more so to experience it. So
if you do end up taking that client, we're going to have to come back and edit that out.
I don't care. I don't care. I mean, I posted it all over social media. I didn't put names or anything like that, but I posted it all over LinkedIn and Facebook and all that.
I didn't even think political when you were saying that. I was thinking I went straight to like gangs. I was like, okay.
I've heard that. If it was the 90s and I was in LA, then I'm down with the Bloods or whatever. But yeah, she instantly.
There is no gang affiliation to Branded. I promise. Don't start a turf war.
Don't need no drive-bys in the Branded hood.
I'm going on the Blue Hat Media podcast right after this, so we'll see.
Are you really? No. Like, is there a blue hat? Damn it! So
you cornered the market on hat color logos.
Hey, it's all gravy. So, anyways, RJ, this has been an amazing conversation, man. Where can people find out more about you and Blip and how they can leverage billboards at the top of their funnel and start really getting their brand and their name out there?
Yeah, great question. 3 things. Blipmedia.com. That's where you can go create an account and within 5 minutes, send your ad to a billboard directly from your computer. Number 2, we're on LinkedIn. My name is RJ Schultz. If you just type in RJ Blip, we'll be the only one. And then number 3, I will send each of you via email a link that you can distribute to your listeners where if they do want to try it, if they come through this link and create an account, we can put an extra 25% spend into their account. So for example, if they prepay $1,000, we'll give them $1,250 of advertising, so on and so forth. So yeah, those 3 ways.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. Well, hey, everybody, if you've been listening to this episode and you got some value out of it, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button so we can continue to bring you these top of funnel episodes each and every week. And with that, I'm Larry Roberts.
I'm Sarah Leslie, and we'll talk to you next week.